This LEGO Star Wars set has taken me so long to find for review because it's so small. Wait, where did it go? Oh, here it is. Welcome, of course, to the Republic Coruscant Guard Gunship review, something I've been putting off for a long time. Oh, so you can fit 7 figures? All right, let's actually review this thing. Despite the issues that people have had years past when this was first released, I'm looking at it from a fresh perspective. Although fresh being that the 2008 Gunship is still my favorite, and I'll make a video comparing those two. If it's out, it'll be up here. If not, it'll be coming eventually. But this set isn't bad. It's just, it is small, but it looks better in person. Of course, with every LEGO Star Wars set, my favorite part is always the minifigures, so I have a few extra here, but let's take a look at our Coruscant guards. They're just shock troopers. It's just shock troopers. Honestly, I feel like all these figures are pretty good, but I know that we have issues with the clone troopers, so I'm gonna start with Padme herself. Padme is very simple. There are no boots, which I was kind of surprised that we didn't get dual molded legs on this one, but she does look pretty good, has good printing on the front and back of the torso, and of course, she has 2 faces. One of them is a little bit angrier than the other one. Up next is Dewey himself, looking good? I don't know, this variant of him is not my favorite. I really don't like the skirt piece that they used. I prefer legs. I get it, he has a robe on, but so do the Jedi and they don't have this. So I feel like I'd rather have regular legs. But it is cool that we do get printing on the back of the skirt piece because it is a different piece. And the overall printing of the rest of him is really nice. You can definitely tell that LEGO put some effort to make these red robes stand out and make sense for palps. Of course, he has a grumpy, scary face and a regular face too. His regular face looks pretty good. I think it's the better of the two, but overall they're pretty solid figures. Something that I feel like you wouldn't want to miss out on, especially since these two are fairly popular characters. Just really need a golden lightsaber for this guy and legs so I can fight him with other Jedi. On to our next figures, we've got these 2 Coruscant guards. I added 3 extras because I have 3 battle packs, but really you get 2 in the set meant to be your pilots for the gunship, unfortunately. And I feel like they're pretty solid. Obviously they're the same figures that we got in that battle pack, so they're really not anything new and not something that's very hard to find. Although they do look nice enough. Of course, we do have the helmet holes. I'm not going to talk about those, but the printing and everything else looks fairly solid. They're just clone troopers, you know, no printing on the arms, good things on the legs, and nothing on the back except a little bit of back printing. Same face on all these guys too, obviously, because they're clones, so they're the same. Pretty self-explanatory on that one. Our last figure is probably the most popular, something I made a video about on this channel, but also one of the most, what's a nice way to say this? Hated, bad figures in the set. To be fair, I think that it's great that we got Commander Fox, because Commander Fox hasn't really made a big appearance since the Clone Wars. It's been a while since we've really seen this figure, and he's not really in any other Star Wars media except the Clone Wars. And I guess a book or 2, but that doesn't really count. The positives here are the fact that he does have these 2 pistols, which I feel like makes sense to give the commanders, and I like them. And the printing, although wrong, is at least passable for a good LEGO minifigure, especially on the helmet. I think his helmet looks phenomenal. There isn't anything that I would change personally with it. It's good, but it's just the torso and the legs that we have a problem with. Of course, we don't have any cloth waist cape, and the print is just wrong. So from that standpoint, it is pretty disappointing. I really don't like the fact that you can see the red behind the white. I feel like it's a missed opportunity to try something new here and not put white on another dark, opaque color, because it just doesn't look good. But weirdly enough, on the back, the white looks fine. It doesn't have much bleed through at all. So I don't know why on the front it looks that way, but it's just not great. And the legs are good, but again, they're okay. This figure is something that you don't want to have, but you probably need to have anyway if you want to complete your clone collection, because I don't think they're going to make another Commander Fox again. At least not for a really long time, because it took them like 10 years to remake this one. And this is, of course, our first ever Commander Fox with Phase 2 armor. So, overall, the figures, honestly, aren't the best part of the set, which is usually what I would say is true. Really, the best part of the set is surprisingly the set itself. Even though it's downsized, even though it's small, it still packs a pretty good punch. Really, it just needs some changes that the original Gunships all had that this one doesn't for some reason. So let's start with the front. The front, of course, is standard and simple. It actually is probably my favorite part of the Gunship because looking at it from the very front view makes it look really good. Like that looks like a Gunship to me, and it's nice. That front view that we don't see a lot in the pictures makes a big difference here. And I thought I was gonna hate this set until I had it, and it looks better. We do get, of course, the two little laser turret things in the front. They move fairly easily, but you can pop them off easily as well, just like the originals. Moving backwards, we have two giant stickers on either side. I'm not a sticker fan, but LEGO's done this in the past where they've put big stickers on the sides of the Gunship, so I'll give them a pass for that one. And you can open it just like previous ships as well. One downside being, though, is the area is just small, but not so small that you couldn't fit anything there. And that's one thing that I feel like is a missed opportunity with the set, is putting something there. The 2008 Gunship had one, and it was just a little command station, but literally anything would have been good there. You could put a weapons rack, and at least it would have been something unique and fun added to the Gunship. But leaving it an empty gaping hole feels weird to me. And I don't know why they did that. On the top, we have two bubbles for our cockpit areas. I personally prefer designs of the past, but I don't think the bubbles look bad, and they're pretty easy to open. They're just a little bit difficult to fit a figure in there. You can't have them have their weapon, which is fine, but they just, sometimes they don't want to go in. I just don't think the shaping matches because they're so close together. And that problem comes from the lift. One of my least favorite things in LEGO sets, when done incorrectly, is the handle holding mechanism. Personally, for me, I'd so much rather, even as a kid, just pick this thing up by the bottom. It's really a sturdy build, and LEGO designers are great at making things that are structurally sound. So for me, adding this little hook carrying handle at the top that can't be covered by anything is a letdown. It's not terrible, and I see what they're going with. You know, it's nice to have a carrying handle, but as a kid, I want to be behind it, you know, ready to take some droids out, not swinging it like this. And it feels unsteady, even though it's fairly stable, but flying it like this is so much more fun. So I don't really know why LEGO had to include that or why the designers did, but it just feels unnecessary, and I'm not one to change LEGO sets. I like to keep them the way they are. So I wish that wasn't there because it does detract from the design, and it just doesn't look good. It works well though. I'll give them kudos to that. They found a great point to where it's fairly balanced. And I mean, you can hold this with one finger and it'll stay in place for the most part. It's actually a pretty solid design. Obviously, if you dropped it, it probably would break, but it's pretty good. Let's talk about the wings. The wings on the set are both the same on both sides. No stickers on the wings, which I was surprised about. There's no stickers, so it's all just brick-built detail, which is really awesome. And I'm glad that the designers decided to do that versus using stickers for some of the colors on top, which was done in the past. However, we have to talk about the stud shooters in the room, which are a thing that I personally don't like. I think stud shooters are frustrating because all I ever do is accidentally launch them and hit someone else or just lose the studs. And I don't know if they're a great play feature either. I'm not sure if there are really a lot of kids that go, oh yes, I'm glad I got stud shooters on the side of my vehicle. Because, now here's a big because. When you're flying this thing, say you're flying it the way it was intended with this carrying handle, you can really only launch one at a time. And if you wanted to launch them without touching the handle, you're bending the wings up, and I probably just snapped a piece or something. So it doesn't really work, and it should have been balls that I feel like could have been on the top and then stud shooters applied to the bottom. The reason I say that is because the bottom of the wing is just a little like small build to make it look rounded. They totally could have added stud shooters there and kept the domes on top, but I feel like this is a cheap out, which makes me sad. It does make me a little sad because it turns this set from what would have been a really awesome wings to slightly not as good. And the reason they're really awesome is the parts above the midway point. However, the wings are actually my favorite part of this set. There's a few reasons why, but the biggest reason is how durable they are. You saw me before hold this thing by the wings, which could not be done on any other gunship before, because the wings were just flat. The wings were held down by gravity, but these ones, not only are they held down by gravity, but they have a pin in the back of them. And this pin serves to keep this thing very stable. And I mean stable. These wings aren't going anywhere unless you really want them to. And I absolutely love that the LEGO designers went through the trouble of making this really sturdy. They added a few pieces that I feel like maybe just padded the piece count on some parts, but this really matters to me. And this is something that is far superior than any gunship that's come before. So from that standpoint, very awesome. And the wings themselves have great shaping. Of course, they go up to the fuel pod rocket launcher things. These are good too. I wish that we would have gotten rockets in the middle. I don't know why they didn't do that. It's a really easy build, and they're flick fire missiles, so it just adds more play. But they didn't do that in this set, unfortunately. These, however, look good. They look a lot better in person than they do on camera and from what I've seen on the box. And I really like the way that they look from the back. But now we need to talk about how you get inside this thing, which is another point where I know everyone has been upset about it, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about the interior. The interior of the gunship is accessed by this single door, which is another issue we'll talk about in a moment. But on either side, there's one door, and you can get a pretty good opening, but it's not anything crazy. There's a lot of empty space in the back that you can't access because this giant door is in the way. So there should be two doors here. Yes, there are other ways that you can modify this to make two doors. It should have been two. I feel like it would have been better for play and just in general if there was two doors or just a half door at the back and turrets at the front or something like that. But this was probably one of the worst ways they could have gone about making this door because it limits how much you can actually use of the space inside. Now, talking about the interior itself, I do like the way that they built it. It's basically the same as what we've gotten before with other gunships, and you can fit figures in there. You just can't fit a ton of them because it's a little tight. You can see here as I'm putting in these clones, although it's closer to minifig scale than the other larger ones, when you push the doors in and the clones are too close to the edge, for example, I'll put one on a stud that's one stud back, the door will actually hit that clone and, well, just pops out. And that's a problem that I feel like was overlooked. LEGO is always really good about making their sets very playable and fun, especially with their minifigures. I feel like the LEGO designer should have caught that before just releasing this set because that ruins it for everybody. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad, but the clones should be able to fit where they need to go. I feel like that's just part of a gunship like this, especially. Being able to put as many figures as you want in there not only incentivizes people to go buy more clones, which, you know, helps LEGO's bottom line, but it also just makes the set a little more playable. And that's exactly what they want, right? They want it to be playable, or at least displayable, by being able to put clones in there, because I display my other gunship with one of the doors open and clones coming out. Missed opportunity there to make it actually work with the clones, but whenever you close the doors, they just fall over too easily. It's too cramped in there, and you really can't fit very much. Closing the doors on the exterior of them, they do have a nice glass like paneling for the windows, and overall I think the door design looks really good. The striping is very well done. I'm impressed by that just because they didn't use any stickers. It's all just different types of new tiles, which is a really awesome way that the LEGO designers these days are able to add their little spin on these sets by mitigating the need for extra colors that can't fit there. And lastly, we'll look at the back, which has a door just like some of the older gunships. that you can pull down. It's just a ramp. I don't know if that's supposed to be something that can come down. I'm pretty sure it's not, but I don't know. It also has another little laser turret on the back too. It's a bit smaller than in years past, but it does the job fairly well. And there's a little bit of detailing going up back towards those missile pods. So that's pretty much everything about this gunship. If you haven't purchased it yet, I would definitely continue to wait for a good sale, probably later this year as Prime Week and Target deal days, whatever, Walmart deals, all that stuff just happened. But this set I got on clearance. I'm sure you can find it on a good deal too. I'm sure it sold well enough for Lego to be happy about it, but it doesn't sell well enough that you can't get a good deal. I wouldn't pay full price, but it is a fairly good set that I feel like if you don't have a gunship, you'll love, and if you do have a gunship, you'll miss the old ones, but enjoy that there's something new and fresh added to the table. The color red too also makes it look pretty good. In the future, I would love for them to do a new, different color, or even just a plain one, but having a red is unique and something that I don't think they would ever make again. So if you haven't gotten it before it retires, you might be a little disappointed that you never picked it up. Well, Woodsters, that is my review of the LEGO Star Wars Coruscant Guard gunship. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, please, because we're almost at 20K, and once we do, I'm gonna do something special. But other than that, you know, you can like the video too, I guess. Thanks for watching.